All right, everybody, good afternoon and welcome on back. Continuing along our Friday, closing out our week here in the Cyber Group Trading Room and, of course, streaming across social media, Facebook and YouTube alike here. Welcome on back for our afternoon meeting. Let's get a quick sound check just to begin. Make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear. Got some feedback on my end, actually. I'm sure that you guys can hear me loud and clear. Give me a quick sec. All right, usual suspects in tow: Rob, Greg, Gene, Philip, Wayne, all of us up top. I just missed in the chat board just before. Great to see everybody. Still getting that same feedback. Give me a quick second here, guys. Pardon me. They should do. There we go. Much better. Perfect. All right. Anil, Grant, as always, Kathleen, who had just called out, I believe, Riot, R-I-O-T here. We'll get to that perhaps in a moment. Of course, we'd like to check in just with the markets all together. And, very quickly from yesterday afternoon, perhaps, when we were doing this very meeting, I'd said to you guys that, going into this week, just given how much the market had already, recovered and pushed up, I didn't really expect this to keep going, right? But I did tell you guys not to really, let your assumptions get ahead of you because, that otherwise you're not going to be able to really, take a trade and follow the market and follow us here in the trading room otherwise. So, of course, we take a look at the Dow, and actually it was after a massive gap up. Dow futures were up over 250 points early on this morning, only continued to squeeze up after 9:30, took a bit rather, but shortly after 10 o'clock going into 11 o'clock rather, we ended up seeing the Dow break higher. With that, pretty much everything else was already moving up at the time, but if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, guys. For a lot of the stocks that we tend to trade, they move with the market at times, and especially given the last month and a half, stocks like NCLH, stocks like RCL, albeit a bit pricier. RCL even actually this afternoon just took off. So we'll get to that next. But NCLH ended up popping shortly prior to the open, ended up running up right around that 10:45, 11 o'clock time frame where we ended up seeing the Dow break higher. RCL, this thing ended up just, lifting off going into the early afternoon, like I'd said. So, we were trading this earlier inside our trading room. RCL ended up making a clear run up with the market and has continued to pick up, like I'd said, moving all the way up towards a high of 74.59. It's easy for me to just put this on our watch list, just given the range that the stock has made already. We'll keep this one in mind, certainly RCL, but just as I was going through, guys, a lot of stocks moving with the market, a lot of stocks just trending up similarly. Stocks like Save here, even early on, made a nice bounce, ended up dropping off here a bit. Perhaps airline sector is dropping off nicely here. Jets, JETS, we have a airline ETF. Looks like it's beginning to pull back, so maybe the airline's not doing as hot. Check in on some stocks like UAL, moving down with it, assumingly so, and AAL with it. AAL was a monster earlier on this morning in pre-market, ended up dumping off a bit early on and continued to dump off perhaps. But, a lot of stocks had moved up early on with the market. It's still holding pretty strong, at least going into the afternoon. MGM breaking down, I guess, here a bit now, held up pretty nicely today. Dave & Buster's, for the big run up that this stock had yesterday, at least, this one dumped off a bit early on. So Dave & Buster's fantastic short as the markets ended up pulling back, but where we ended up seeing the market squeeze back up around 10:45 and 11 o'clock Eastern time. Play continued to kind of just trade this tight range between 2050 essentially and 21, and eventually with lower highs comes a lower low. So Dave & Buster's actually is still a great opportunity to trade going into the afternoon, similar to that RCL. So we'll come back to a lot of these side list stocks here, guys, in a moment. Of course, I'd like to break down a few that we ended up trading earlier on today. And what we'll do really even is, actually, we typically do this just at some point, but we'll hop right through the list. There's a stock right now, guys, that's making a bit of a push up. It's pretty slow, so I feel like there's some time for us to try and catch it. It's on the gainers list, number 16. So what we'll do is actually go from top to bottom, just really from the gainers to the losers right away. For any of the big ones, of course, that we called out, GCI is the one I was going to get to at first, but we'll recap all of those that we ended up calling out that ended up being bigger moves early on. So Ben just make a call out on this one here, VAL, cheapy, of course, our top percent gainer to begin things. And given this trend, it's just easy for us to put on our list. So VAL, it would be nice if I came into this meeting prepared with a pen. It's on my other desk here. Give me a quick sec. was actually in our office in Syosset, New York, just earlier this morning. My internet crapped out on me early in pre-market, so I just came back. So I'm in my home office right now. I just grabbed my pen here. So yeah, Val, easy for us to put on the list. It seems like it's an easy trade. Hopefully it remains steady and strong going into the afternoon. There's a bit of a gap, as you could see on the daily chart, dating back to early March. It seems like it dropped off from around 235-ish almost, just about down to 150. 231 low, and then the next day, yeah, to 145 essentially there. So given the squeeze up already, you'd like to think, well, how much more can it really go? Well, this is the type of trend that we would like to see, of course, at this time in the day. And given the drop off this stock had a month and a half, 2 months ago at this point, gap down, and perhaps even further from that point as well, this Val trade will easily just put on our list. All right, what else do we have here? GCI. So Fausto called this one out early. So, guys, going into the market open here, I don't think that we had GCI on our main list. I mean, it didn't really show a whole lot of activity in pre-market. Well, shortly after the open, and let me actually, like I said, go through my chat board right now from earlier today. So Fausto make this call out right away after the open, I think. Let's see. I want to get a timestamp for all this here. I know he called it out verbally. So inside our trading room, we do live audio commentary. So he called it out pretty early on, and we had it shortly after the open. He put it in the trading room at least at 9:43 Eastern time. So this was the first text call out inside our trading room. GCI, Fausto called it out 9:43 Eastern time. So it ended up popping early, but we were still, of course, able to grab most of the action here on the way up. A huge run up, at least from 180-ish, where we found it, all the way up towards the high of the day, eventually at 344. I'm going to put this on our list too. I don't know if Fausto would put this on our list going into the afternoon because, well, at this point, it's not really doing much, right? It's trading in a tight range. It already made a big move up once early today, so I wouldn't expect for it to make a second clean move going into the close. The reason I'm going to put this on our list is that it's actually shortable. So for those of us, at least with TradeStation, I'm assuming those with interactive brokers perhaps as well, you guys would be able to short this, and hopefully anyone else. But otherwise, yes, if it's not breaking higher, if this doesn't continue to break out nicely above 3, then I'd like to think perhaps it could be a good opportunity to short. So either way, we'll put this on our list. Now, another one, this one I'm getting pinged on right now from Benzinga Pro. So OAS is up number 3 on the gainer side, but breaking a new high as we speak, right up to major resistance at $1. So I made that call out just before we started this meeting, guys. I was saying OAS new high of the day. I got that right from Benzinga Pro signals. Ended up making a bit of a move up. And of course, as you could see, right at $1, whole number, major resistance, 440,000 share order on the ask right now. It looks like it's going to get filled pretty quickly here. It's a really strong level, so I don't want to take too much time watching this. It might be a little bit. Now you can see the ask, it's growing. It's actually 900,000+ shares. I mean, way more than that, just looking at the volume spike alone. But wow, that didn't take too long, did it? Jeez. All right, so OAS, new pop here, new high, 101. I wouldn't really be too trusting on the first breakout, though, above resistance. It's a very good sign for potential continuation. Some volume getting filled right over $1, some buying coming in. If this could re-break above $1 coming up in the next few moments, then that would be the entry, in my opinion. So OAS certainly will add to our list for right now. PSV, I don't think we're going to do too much on. Let's see. Yeah, just not really doing much. I wanted to skip ahead to Hertz HTZ here. Number 5. So this was more of a pre-market trade, if I'm not mistaken, early on. Yeah, this thing had a life of its own, or took off on a life of its own, rather. Ended up popping shortly prior to 9 o'clock, and then once again right away after, rather, from 285 all the way up towards pre-market high, essentially the high there at the time, 4 and change. For a stock like Hertz that made such a big squeeze up right away at 9:30, we're going to expect a pullback, a drop. So we ended up getting just that. Unfortunately, Hertz didn't really provide much opportunity on the long side after the open. Perhaps right now it may have settled down at support, but given the volume the stock has already traded today, I'm not going to put my eggs in this basket for right now, so we'll skip ahead from Hertz. But beautiful trade, at least in pre-market. Good stock to keep on the side, just given not just today, but yesterday, the big run up that it had as well. So, good to keep on the side, perhaps check back in with come tomorrow, Monday morning. All right, I want to jump ahead, guys. I was going to get to this. It went from 16 to 14 during the time I was going from the gainer side here. WLL. So WLL just, of course, broke a new high right now, but we ended up seeing major resistance get filled right off of $1.26. Of course, from that point, squeezed up about a nickel, which is a very nice move so far. WLL petroleum stock moves similar with OAS. I might have to just slap oil stocks all together on our list at this point. The Dow is holding strong. It's not really doing, too much on the way up just yet. The S&P is beginning to try and make a bit of a bounce. What I'm referring to here is not just WLL or not just, OAS, but stocks like Occidental Petroleum here. Big move up earlier today. We're going to get to this, I'm sure, on the gainer side. Alongside Oxy APA. APA looks a little bit closer to the highs even. So I may just put oil all together on our list going into the afternoon, just seeing, VAL, seeing OAS, seeing the WLL trade and a couple of these others. So I may just do that right here, oil. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? ASNA, nice run up from earlier on this morning from essentially 220 to 350 and then above, pop and drop at that point. All right, CPE, is this another petroleum? Yeah, Callium Petroleum, pretty slow. I mean, some big orders on the book. Nice run up though. I mean, of course, so, just add this to the list with the other oil stocks, oil, petroleum stocks. Skip ahead to this one, TOPS, TOPS, big tease here, shipping stock. I guess it had a nice run up as well today, as did pretty much everything else. For right now, we'll pass. This stock has been such a tease to us over the years. Of course, you could see on the daily chart, big pop at the end of March. So, with the teases, it's provided some opportunity, but otherwise, where we've seen this stock make big moves in pre-market, we were hopeful for a giant run up. At 9:30, the stock dumps off oftentimes and just, consolidates in a tighter range, and that's it. So that's where I say it's more of a tease. Ended up running up nicely earlier on today. I wouldn't expect for it to make a second big run up going into the close either way. So perhaps on Monday, maybe we'll come back to this next week. CHK energy stock, Chesapeake Energy squeezing up just as nicely as the oil stocks, perhaps. CHK about to break a new high of the day. So we'll put this on our list in particular. CHK, we've been following this, so, pretty much on and off lately. All right, RIG, another one. Another oil stock, at least, that I know of. RIG ended up making a nice run up from 220 resistance, popped at least from that point, ran up essentially to the highs 262 going into the afternoon. Again, it looks like just oil stocks. If you don't know what oil stocks to focus on, guys, I'll post them in the chat board just once I'm done. But just generally, that's likely the sector I'll be mostly focused on. Tupperware store. Nice run up here. Nice chart pattern. Squeezing up to essentially, not high of the day just yet. High of the day is at 694, but the last peak at 670 held pretty well. So it's hard to not put Tupperware on our list here at this point. Nice level one stock, shortable if it goes the other way. We've traded this yesterday going into the early afternoon. All right, how about the mortgage stocks? MIT, MFA, NYMT, a lot of these ended up running up beautifully once again today as well. MIT pulling back here for the meantime, right down towards 360. So if we can't short it, we're not going to put it on the list. MFA, a little bit stronger than MIT, at least from the morning. I feel like there's a little bit more of a hold-off support on this trade. I was looking around 3. You could see it ended up holding 3 nicely. It broke below 3. It held 3 as resistance, and it's continuing for right now. I'm looking also at 290. So if we're focused on this MFA trade going into the afternoon, keep your eyes out for like every 10 cents for there to be a bit of a volume-based support or resistance here. So I don't mind at least putting MFA on our list, given the chance that we can short this one, whereas the MIT trade we cannot. take a look at the other mortgage stocks here. NYMT dropping off just as nicely. I think IVR is another one, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. All right. So a lot of these are pulling back, guys. So oil and then mortgage stocks, I'm just going to write. So, those stocks that I just ran through, just keep an eye on those too. All right. I got to calm down here a bit. This is usually how we turn a, 5 to 8 stock watch list into a 30 stock watch list. So I got to take a deep breath, settle down here for a bit, maybe hop over to the loser's side, see if there's anything over there, and then we'll call it. LK, we're not going to put on our list, unfortunately. This one did a great job running up in pre-market, bounced after the open, at least up towards 6, held off of 6, and essentially its opening bell print at $6.25. I mean, don't get me wrong, it bounced around 5, and perhaps now that it's above 5, maybe it could hold it, begin to squeeze up again. I'm not going to put my eggs in that basket right now, so I think for the meantime, I'm going to scratch this from our list here. All right, so let's hop over to the losers list, guys, see if there's anything that's shortable, perhaps breaking a new low, anything that's not hard to borrow, perhaps. A bunch of stuff already at the top that is, so we'll skip over that. And we hop over to work. Slack Technologies ended up posting earnings yesterday after the bell got crushed and continued to drop off after the market opened, but eventually bounced, and then from that point has done a great job recovering, rather. Kind of choppy right now. It's still trading in between 32.50 and 33, sans the pop and drop before. I mean, it's trading 50-cent increments extremely nicely, but you could see 33 has been a stronger resistance. 32 has been a pretty strong support, and recently here, 32.50. So I'm going to put this back on our list, work, at least for right now. It's just a very tradable stock, very active off of earnings yesterday after the bell, and trading strong support resistance every 50 cents. All right, cool. Anything else, guys, on the loser side here? Proverb, PRVB, as I would call it. I don't know if that's the name. I mean, this is trading levels pretty nicely too, but right now, not as interesting to me. Doesn't really catch the eye as much. All right, I think that just about does it, guys. Let me know if there's anything else here. Maybe I'll run a quick scan, but anything else in the chat board here in our trading room, anything else across social media, just let me know otherwise. Dwayne says, RCL has me in a full Nelson chokehold. This sucks. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Let's take a look. All right, so it's dragging back down right now. It seems like the SPY is holding up pretty damn nicely right now, guys. Since we started this meeting, it's not as if the S&P dropped off. Maybe check back with the Dow. Not even just yet. Maybe it'll pull back more going into the close, but it seems like a lot of the cruise lines, perhaps RCL in particular, given its run up, dropping off right now. All right. Well, we'll look for support. Resistance, mostly support here with this tailing off. Once we're finished with this meeting, Dwayne, we'll get bookmap up level 4, so to say, and assuming 71 is going to be a strong level, but given how much it ran up, perhaps it might have a bit more room to go. We'll see what happens here. What else do we have, guys? Stephen P says Russian oil and OPEC are still trying to push out American competition. So, yeah, I mean, we ended up seeing a really active market today, Stephen. So going into the close, even though we're heading into the end of the week, going into the weekend, I'd still expect for there to be a lot of activity. So, it should be a very interesting afternoon, especially with a lot of the oil stocks that are pushing up right now. WLL pulled back a slight bit here down to that 125, 126 support. All right. Peter M on YouTube says Grub has propped up an hour ago. Yeah, that was called out in our trading room just earlier. I remember that. All right. Yeah, big pop earlier on today. I don't know what the news was on this. I was on a call with Bookmap actually at 1 o'clock right when this happened. Big move from 58 to 64 though. It's trading in a tighter range right now, so I'm not going to put this on our main list. I will say, though, of course, very active stock. It's fairly expensive. It's very volatile with that in mind. If you've made money on this trade earlier today off the pop, I would put it on your list then at that point going into the close. But for right now, between oil, between the mortgage stocks moving off nicely, perhaps some of the other side list stocks that might not make the list just yet, and those, of course, that are already on the list, we have a pretty action-packed afternoon already. So for right now, I'll hold off on putting Grub on our main one. From Howard, he's saying newbie here. Welcome aboard, Howard. He says oil stocks, HAL. That's right, Howard. Halliburton. Very good point. Yeah. HAL, though, is beginning to tail off here a bit, whereas some of the others were holding pretty strong. APA, Oxy might be coming down with it. Let's see. Oxy just kind of tight range right now, it looks like. Still holding a bit. HAL is dropping off, but that is another oil stock or oil services stock, as William follows up in our chat board. So that would just be one to add to the list too, though. All right. So, guys, I think that just about does it. Check in maybe with play. I said I was going to come back to maybe a couple of these stocks. Dave & Buster's, I mean, it's a really steady downtrend. So, markets are holding strong here for the meantime, but Dave & Buster's, tailing off beautifully. So, we'll respect that. We'll put this on our list, with this in mind. It's down 5%. Just given the net move today, I mean, it's just down big, just from high to low. From Abdallah, Boeing, BA, please, asking just to, I guess, to at least check in with it, look to see what it's doing. Let's see, Boeing, pretty expensive, pretty choppy. I wouldn't look to day trade Boeing, Abdallah, but I mean, it's holding support, it seems like, off that 205. You would figure $5 increments for a stock like this anyway. $1 increments isn't even big enough for a stock like Boeing. So, it's showing on the price axis, but that aside, holding 205 nicely. It held 210 earlier and then broke down as support. So I would expect 210 to act as resistance perhaps going into the afternoon at least. All right, guys. So I think that just about does it. I don't really know how many stocks we have in total on our list, given the oil sector, between just the oil stocks, the mortgage stocks at least. And then aside from those, just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in particular otherwise. All right, guys. So I say this all the time. Let's try and close out today, close out the week just as well as we had opened it up. For anybody on social media that's looking to learn more about what we offer here at Cyber Trading University, please just call the phone number down below on the banner. And then from that point, one of our education advisors, a member from our staff, will pick up, provide more detail at least for you guys there. All right. So I'll talk to you guys here in the trading room coming up soon. Take care, guys.